Hi, hello. Welcome to the board crew. I'm Bronson. I'll be hosting today. We're on episode 11, Legs 11. And you know what else has legs?
Tables.
Tables that you got to play board games on.
Yes, I'm Daniel. And Ben's here too.
Yeah.
Smooth.
And Daniel, Ben, what are you both putting onto a set of legs?
On the legs theme, we're going to take a wonderful stroll through the valley in Earthborn Ranges.
And I'm going to dive into a dungeon for the last time in Iron Helm because I'm a retired man and I've just got one more job before I pick up.
This is the
What
one.
is it? Hang up my boots. Or...
This is the one. This is the job.
That I promise. This one. That's how all retirees sound.
Yeah. And me, I'll be talking about a game called Flux.
Flexing on flux.
I'm flexing on Flux
flexing
with
on
my
Flux.
flexy legs.
Legs are low. I can't whistle. When I whistle, I inhale.
We'll fix that in post.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get you a nice whistle there,
Alright,
Daniel.
Here I go. Real big whistle.
All right, we're going to talk about Flux. Flux was released in 1997.
It's a new one.
Yeah. Hip, I'm to the minute.
The year is 1977.
Yeah.
Actually, to be fair, I think a version of Flux has probably been released this year.
I mean, you can hedge your bets that a version of Flux has been released in whatever year you are in.
A version of Flux has probably been released in the time we started recording this podcast.
Yeah, in fact, the board crew edition of Flux is now available. There's so many syndicated versions of this game. I'm going to be specifically talking about the OG version. It's not to say that I think that it's any better than the other syndicated editions. I have also played Pirate Flux. It's pretty fun. But I think if you were going to get a copy of Flux, I'd recommend either the original version or a syndicated version of something you are really into.
Monty Python Flux.
Well, I've never heard of it, so I'm excited
Lovely.
to dive in.
Okay, well, as we start the game of Flux, which is a 2 to 6 player, although I'd recommend like 3, 4, 5.
Oh, don't play this with 6 people.
No. And also don't play it with 2 people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Just don't play it.
Just don't play it. No, play it. It's good. In fact, this is actually one of the like first, second tier board games. Not indie, but like
Hobby board game.
Thank
Designer
you.
board
Thank-
game.
This is one of the first-
Published by Looney Labs.
Yep. A couple of Loonies as well, Andrew and Kristen Looney. It's hard to describe. It's a rule-changey game.
I mean, the starting rules are pretty easy.
Oh yeah, you've got a hand of 3, and on your turn you pick up 1 card, you play 1 card. The types of cards you can play are actions, which let you do something like maybe draw an extra card. Goals, which will then actually make a way to win the game. Like you need to have 10 cards in your hand and you win the game. Or you need a pair of keepers, which are another type of card. They are icons, like a clock, and that'll be the time card. Or a bundle of cash, that's the money card. And then maybe the goal is like time is money. So you've got to have those 2 cards in your tableau and you win the game. And then the last type of card are rules cards.
Love them.
Oh, well, what rules? Rules cards are where this game gets chaotic.
Oh.
All of a
right.
sudden, it's draw 1, play 3.
Oh.
And then it's draw 5, play 1.
Or maybe it's a draw 5, play 1, but now your hand size is 1.
Yeah, that's right. Hand limit 1, hand limit 0. I do like this game for that, in that, yeah, there, if you were like so dedicated to Flux, you could probably like, count all of the cards and what they do and go, haha, I know the draw 3 has been played, therefore.
It's a reasonably large deck that you're playing with.
Yeah, so, high replayability, high chaos, hard to, like, get that quant strategy developed with. Yeah, pretty fun. But also sometimes not fun.
Oh, what? I'm just staring at Ben's face this whole
Yeah,
episode because I can just tell he doesn't like it.
For the audio listener.
It just
yeah.
It's an image of a sigh.
Yep. Ben, tell us a little bit about your time playing Flux.
I've played Flux a few times. It can be really humorous, like the Monty Python edition. I've played Pirate edition. I've played too many editions of Flux for a game that I'm really not that keen on. But
Maybe-
it's pretty popular.
Maybe this next edition will be the one that you like.
Maybe it will be. I mean, Flux is on a mission to have more editions than both Love Letter and Monopoly combined, I think.
Yeah.
So there's a Flux for you, except there's not, because they're all bad.
should
They're
be
all
a
the
slogan.
same game.
Yeah.
It's just a different style of humor. The humor is really good. This is, I would like it akin to Munchkin humor.
Yeah.
If you've played that, lots of in references, lots of great geeky, nerdy humor, but also stuff that even if you don't, especially in OG Flux, if you don't have any knowledge around geek, nerd culture or gaming culture, there'll still be funny little trips and references in the meta-ness of it.
Yeah, there's an action card that gives you like 3 different types of conditions that can be met. So if it's your birthday, you get to draw 3 cards, and that's
And that pretty much tells you the kind of game that you're in for. I reckon Flux is an awesome game when it lasts 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's funny, it's quick, and it's just wee. Because of the chaos, you can have a game of Flux that goes almost an hour.
Oh, especially with 5 or 6 players.
The win state of the game just changes potentially every single turn, even with not many players. And you will try and play a win state that you can achieve, but obviously no one else can achieve that. So they're just going to change the win state.
Yeah.
It's like getting to the end of the rainbow. You can always see it, but it just keeps moving ahead of you.
Hot tip for any TBC listeners. Bronson's personal strategy is try and sort yourself out for a win condition that you can make in one move. There's no point trying to make it so I'll win on my next turn. It's never going to happen.
That sometimes works, but I've been burned too many times by long Flux games where I'm like, really? We're all winners when someone wins.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, how many games can you say are competitive to begin and cooperative to finish?
It's not a quality that I want in my games.
Yeah, that's what board game nights are all about.
Yeah.
Just, can we hurry up and get through this game?
It's about the rules we make along the way. If you're the board gamer in your group, it's probably good to have an edition of this in your back pocket. It fits in your back pocket. You can bring it to casual board game, family board game night. Very casual.
You can play it with your family at Christmas or something like that?
Oh yeah, well, it depends.
No more than 5.
Yeah. If your family is quite nuclear,
Yeah, right, okay.
don't bring the aunts and uncles.
No. They'll get too aggressive.
Yeah, I will say if you have enough people in your board game playing community where you're looking for a game that is a little chaotic and rule changey, what's the name of that game with the rabbits?
Killer Bunnies and the Quest for the Magic Carrot.
Yeah, that'd
See,
be...
that's like my guilty pleasure. I do actually love that one.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I couldn't tell you why, because that is even more random than Flux.
Absolutely. It's hair-pulling random, but the fan service and the pop culture references in it are so good.
And the tension at the end of who has the magic carrot.
Yeah.
I mean, Daniel's just looking at us going like, what?
I've played this game.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Great.
I did not like it.
Then you'll love Flux.
Yeah.
Half the time I was trying to figure out the rules, and then someone was like, don't try to figure out the rules.
Yeah.
That's the game.
I mean, the interesting thing about, say, Killer Bunnies and the Quest for the Magic Carrot as compared to Flux is Killer Bunnies and the Quest for the Magic Carrot has rules for days.
Yeah.
And it's a complex, luck-based
Oh, yeah.
chaos extravaganza, and it leans heavily into that. Flux is the other side. It's a light, fluffy...
Super light. You can pick it up and play like that.
This is for non-gamers, chaos extravaganza. Yeah, my only real issue with Flux is just the time. It can just go forever.
So, hey, I mean, I would still recommend Flux. It's good to have, especially if you've got some people new to hobby designer board games. Oh, what's that? Oh, yeah, I'm sick of playing Uno. I want to play something else. Great for that kind of audience. Also great to just, chill out, embrace the absurdity, forget about the rules, and chill out with something super light.
Rules for squares anyway,
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I think I'd go with something like Skull.
Yep.
Something I'd go, this is going to reliably hit, and it's going to be short, rules light,
Yep.
and everyone's going to have a great time every time.
Yeah, worth having one or the other on your shelf if you're starting.
I'll give it a go.
Great.
Flex on Flux.
That's Flux.
So my game is called Iron Helm, and Ben, it has 3, 4, 5 players. Just kidding. We all know it's a solo game, baby. It is a solo-only game. You fight, you loot, you make decisions, you try to retire at the end of it because you just want to have a nice bed to sleep on, a nice pillow to rest your head at the end of the day because you've been dungeoneering and questing for years and years. You just got this one last one to do, and then you're done kaput. So in this game, by Jason Glover, he's the designer, and Grey Gnome Games is the publisher. This was actually my very first print and play game ever. And I went for a really hard one. Everyone says if you're doing print and play, go for something like Sprawlopolis, which was in a recent episode. No, I went for a really hard one with a lot of components.
Out of interest, did you just print this at home or did you take it off to Officeworks or something and get it printed?
For legal reasons, I did not print this at work. So...
Okay, cool.
I printed this at not work.
Printed this at not work. It's a new place.
Yeah.
It just opened up.
Yeah. I love that
So-
place. I might get some printing done there.
It's so good. I wouldn't recommend coming to mine not work. That might be a bit suspicious. But it is a solo-only game, and basically you are this dungeoneering questing kind of person. You've got this, obviously, as I mentioned before, you've got to this age where you're trying to retire, but you want to be able to set yourself up, have enough funds to do so. And obviously in this medieval fantasy world, the best way to do that is by fighting monsters and looting treasure chests and doing all the fun stuff, and then residing by the cliff and having the soft crashing waves against the beach lull you to sleep. So how it works is you set your character up, you have your skills, you have starting equipment. So it could be, if you're an archer, you've got your bow and arrow. Maybe you've got, if you're a wizard, you've got your staff, but you also have some accessories. Like it could be a door wedge, and that could stop you from an ambush from people, stopping a door and things like that. All the thematic kind of items you'd see in a typical game.
I never thought a door wedge would be one of the things of equipment that you were going to list in a dungeon crawl.
Oh yeah, in Lord of the Rings, they stopped like the fight from Isengard. The door wedge. Yes. We all remember that scene, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
oh, the orcs are coming. Don't worry, guys. I got this from home. Oh, you've done it. The movie's 2 hours shorter now.
That's why one doesn't simply walk into Mordor.
That's right.
There's so many doors and wedges to stop the doors with. And you know what, though? We'll give that job to the semi-retired dungeoneers.
Yeah, well, he might not retire as well as he could even die. He or
Yeah.
she could even die in this dungeon because
Ooh.
there are lots of traps in here. There are lots of enemies and bad things that could happen to you. So essentially the game can be boiled down to literally just flipping 2 cards, choosing a card, and then doing that over and over and over again until you get deeper into the dungeon, and then you shuffle the deck that you've just used and you draw 2 more cards. So on these cards, basically how it works, you draw 2, you choose one of them, and it could say something like you've been ambushed by some skeletons. Draw an enemy from the enemy pile, give them like 2 health or equal to what level of the dungeon you're on, and they also do like an attack damage on you. And you go, oh, I don't want to do that. Maybe I'll risk it and flip the other card over, and hopefully that's something good like a treasure chest, or maybe it's a healing well or a blessing or altar or something like that. Nope, it's also a bad thing. It's an ambush, and because you took that risk, it can be twice as bad. You're drawing an enemy from the base, but now you're adding 8 health or 4 health or 5, whatever. Like you're increasing the odds because you risked it to get the biscuit and it didn't pay off for you.
And
But-
you didn't get a biscuit.
And you did not get a biscuit. They just kicked you out of here.
You rusk it, you get the busket.
He's got the busket. And that can also pay out well for you in some instances as well. You draw on a skirmish. 2 guys are attacking you. Enemies always attack you first in this game, which is just so fun. They always attack you first. But you said, no, I don't want that one. You flip it over, and it's a treasure chest. Now, the first option, if you had picked it first, would have been, you get $1. But because you risked it, and that's a tricky word for me to say. Because you risked it, and you chose it second, you get 3 coins. It might even give you a health potion or something like that. It's all about risk-taking because you're delving into a dungeon. You might as well be choosing it. I think it thematically as every single time you take like 2 steps forward, there's another door, and you get to look at one door and go, skeleton, nah, close that one. Now I have to go on this next one. Another skeleton, and he's twice as big. Oh, I've already chosen. Better go this one. I definitely just can't go back to the second door.
Yeah.
You said committed.
Yeah, I have to
gotta
commit.
go.
Yeah, you gotta rest on your laurels. Like, I've got to go to it.
Them's the rules. Once
That's
you
it.
open a door,
That's it.
You must go through it.
Unless you got a wedge.
Ah, yes. What does the door wedge do?
I said you if an ambush happens, you've drawn a card first and it's an ambush. I don't want that. You draw a second card, it's also an ambush. Put the door wedge in. You dodge them both.
Nice.
You just get a free pass. You go through you just walk past them, I guess. Like, sorry, guys.
Sorry, I
They're
was
like, oh, this tiny wedge.
my gears in my head were trying to make some door.
I don't know
joke.
how it works thematically in that you would. I guess you just close the door on both of them and somehow find a way through. Either way, we don't think about it too hard.
No.
While you're doing this as well, you're also leveling up. So when you're defeating enemies, you can gain new skills, which allow you to do things like if an enemy attacks you, like just say you get parry, an enemy attacks you, you can roll a dice. If you get a 5 or 6 to dodge all the damage. If you get a 1 or a 2, your weapon breaks and you take the damage. You're always risking something. You always have that risk-reward mechanic, and it's constantly in this game. You can take it easy, kind of breeze through the game by just never taking risks, but you also don't get that powerful, and you also can just lose because you keep getting skirmishes and you never risk it to try and get the blessings or the treasures and things like that.
It. If you don't rosk it, you don't get the basket.
You don't get the basket. And while you're doing this, you're also trying to progress the story, and there are things called plot cards. So in your deck, which is made up of 16 cards, so obviously you go through it 8 rounds if you're drawing 2 at a time, you could eventually draw a plot card that says, oh, do you want to help this old lady who's been stuck in the dungeon? She's starving, she needs a way out. Or
she doesn't have a door wedge on
She
it.
doesn't have a door wedge. She's lost hers. She just has a sign that says, we'll pay for door wedge, or we'll dance for door wedge.
Maybe she has a door wedge and just forgot how to use it.
Yes, true. She's been using it as a ramp for a Hot Wheels car.
Wait, there are Hot Wheels cars?
It's whatever you want. It's fantasy. Or you can just say, nah, shut up, old lady. You take her money and then you leg it. So you can get an immediate bonus of, you've got 3 coins, but also your morality is going to go down. Yes, there's a morality system in this game as well, so it can get worse and worse. If you played a morality kind of video game like Mass Effect or something, it gets bad.
Were you playing in the red?
I was always a Paragon.
Oh,
always a Paragon. Yeah, I know the boring option, but they're the cool ones.
No,
they're not cool. But
I mean, you can't leave little old ladies down in dungeons.
No, you to leave a little old lady in the dungeon. That sounds wrong for so many reasons. Saying that out loud.
I'm not sure how
hey,
she got there.
that's you know what? That's probably a reason, and I'm imagining this lady has agency and decided to go down there, and,
She may have,
it's got nothing to do with me. And
God forbid old ladies have hobbies, you know.
Dungeoneering. If your grandma does dungeoneering, let us know in the comments.
Where was I? Plots? Yes. So you're accelerating the story. And every single plot card will have 1 to 3 eyes on it. Once you collect 10 eyes, the final end game basically begins. You drop all your dungeons. You're no longer exploring. You just got to the end of the game. How you determine your boss is how many undead enemies did you kill? 3? Cool. How many fire enemies did you kill? 5? Okay, well, because you killed more fire enemies, you're getting a fire endgame boss. Something like that. And then you fight the boss like normal rules do. Apply. And then once you defeat them, hey, congratulations, you've won the game. Now you're going to calculate all your points. How fast did you beat them? What was your morality track like? Was it up pretty high? Was it pretty low? Et cetera, et cetera. You add all that up, and then if you get 61 or above, you've done that really lovely retirement. If you haven't, you're in a bog, and there's no door wedges anywhere. Everyone hates you. You've got like a terrible kind of location in a neighborhood where people ride dirt bikes past you all the time. It's terrible. So you want to be able to get as many points as possible to beat your own game type. I'm glossing over a lot of things just for the sake of time, but like the morality track, the reason why you want to have like high morality or low morality. Low morality is you get the immediate bonuses. Why you get a high morality? Sometimes you get blessings. Before the final boss, if you've accumulated a few blessings, you don't know what they are, some divine beast or creature will come down and bless you, basically flips those tokens over. Could be extra health, could be recovering all your poison, could be more energy. Yes, you consume energy to attack. You have to be resourceful with your time. You can't just attack everyone. You have to be like, oh, maybe I just won't attack this guy that much. Maybe I'll just hit him once rather than hit him 3 times, things like that. And that's the benefit of being in the high morality, and it also gets you more points. That's essentially Iron Helm in a nutshell. I think the most fun part about it, like the game is fun. It's incredibly swingy though. It's so swingy. Like you can just have such a bad run. When you do have a good run, you feel like a god. Like you feel like a deity. You are so powerful. I've won it twice out of the 4 or 5 times I've played it. I think I did something wrong when I calculated the point at the end though. Because I was like, okay, this is my score. It doesn't seem correct though, because I'm looking at everyone else's on Reddit. They're all saying, hey, I finally, after like playing for weeks, I finally got to 61. I finally did it, guys. And everyone's like, yeah, me too. It took me so long. My first game, I got 102. So, like, what have I done wrong? And I went through all the rules. Everything was checked out. I was like, am I just that good at this game, or have I really miscalculated something? I will never know, because that game was days ago.
Well, I mean, maybe you're just really good with a door wedge.
Yeah.
Hot Wheel. Tech decks on the door
Tech
wedge.
decks
Look
on
at
the
that.
door wedge.
Doing some kick flips, 360s, no scope.
From what you were saying, this sort of reminds me a little bit of some of the mechanics in like Friday.
Okay, right.
Another
Yep.
the only solo game that I think I've ever actually physically played. Am I getting the right kind of vibe?
I haven't played Friday.
Oh,
to be
okay,
completely honest.
wow.
It's been Tony lent it to me about 3 months ago.
Oh,
and it's just been
sorry,
sitting there.
Tony.
Yeah, sorry, it might come up in a future episode. You know what? I'm gonna make my mission that in a future episode I'm gonna review Friday, just so Tony can get his game back.
Yeah.
It does remind me a little bit. Already mentioned it in this episode. Munchkin has a similar mechanic. It's like you flip a card over, and if it's not a monster, you can choose to
Kind of keep going. You can
Yeah.
kick down the door.
kick
That's-
down the door.
Yeah, right.
And that's
yeah.
like you take the top card from the deck. And
Yeah,
there's
got you.
that, like-
So how long are you going to take to play a run?
Oh, it could be over in about 20 or 30 minutes, maybe. Because once you get to a point where you can start recognizing, okay, well, I've drawn 2 ambushes and there are 4 of them in the game or something. My chances of getting it again are pretty low. That's something I should have addressed, actually. When you choose one card and then you choose not to, no matter what happens, you do not ever look at the unexposed card. The one that you did not choose, you never look at it again. You put it back in the deck until it's reshuffled. You never know what it could have been. So you just have to really Rain Man it and just think, okay, I'm trying my best to
Well, I
understand.
mean-
I've seen at least one ambush. That's eliminated one of them out of the 4.
Yep.
Maybe I eliminated 2. Who knows?
Yeah, I guess that's like real life. You know, you never know what's behind the doors you don't open.
Yeah, gosh, we're getting really
Profound.
philosophical now.
That's why I always carry a door wedge with me.
Before I get distracted again, that's Iron Helm by Jason Glover. I had to print and play this game. It was like $8, and the rest was mostly free if you go to my store. I bought some dice. It just does require a bit of dice. It's very fiddly. The tokens probably could benefit from a slider rather than having 16 hearts, and you have to subtract from it. Just a slider would be much easier. But for my first print and play experience, it was really nice. I used some sleeves, like a really cheap sleeves, like $2 from some shops. Yeah, it's great. It cost me about $10 in total, and it would have cost me about $80 to $100 if I had shipped it from Canada or wherever the original printing company is. But I really like it.
Cool.
I hate how swingy it is, but I like it.
That, from the sounds of it, fully retires your take on Iron Helm.
That's Iron Helm.
Next game we're going to talk about is Earthborn Rangers. This is by lots of designers. So Andrew Fisher, Brooks Fajura-Levitt, Andrew Nabo, Adam Sadler, Bradley Sadler. Published by Earthborn Games. So Earthborn Rangers came out just last year, 2023. So look at us hitting the hotness.
We all
So-
certified fresh.
yeah. Earthborn Rangers is a co-op card game where you're going to play rangers in a post-apocalyptic world. Now, normally when I think of post-apocalyptic, I'm sort of thinking, like your Mad Max.
So pretty desolate.
Yeah, often sort of like, everything's kind of collapsed and it's just bad, because there's been an apocalypse. But Earthborn Rangers is set a long time after the apocalypse, and so nature has come back.
The world's
And,
recovered.
yeah, the world has recovered, and humanity has learnt how to share the space, as it were. And so you are rangers, in this space, and you're not going to be going around like fighting off beasts and heroically forging your way through. To give you an idea of sort of the stakes of Earthborn Rangers, the first mission that you have is, we've baked some biscuits and we'd like you to take them and deliver them to the next town. Just whoever you can find.
Yeah.
Just give them some biscuits.
Okay.
We haven't given them biscuits for a while.
I love that.
And that isn't a twist or anything. You just literally go to the next town and deliver some biscuits to some people.
They're assorted cream arnott's, aren't they? Yeah, the good ones.
No, I think
They're
juniper
orange.
berry biscuits they were.
Oh.
that we baked.
It's the Monte Carlo that you make in the post-apocalyptic
Yeah.
world
Yeah,
when
okay.
the Arnott's factories are
It
no
always
longer
goes
running.
first. Them and the Kingstons.
Yeah.
The Junipers.
So yeah, everyone that we gave the biscuits to said they were really nice. Look, so Earthborn Rangers, you craft your ranger based on your attributes. So are you sort of wise, astute, thoughtful, charismatic, creative, etc. Then you're going to think about your background. What did you grow up as? Were you a tinkerer? Were you an explorer? And then you're going to choose a profession. So maybe you're an artisan, or you're a crafter, or you're a shepherd, or something. And so you're going through the world, interacting, and kind of doing these, I want to say, low stakes kind of missions. You're finding things for people. You're helping on sort of odd little quests. It's got a really wonderful sort of explore the world. The interesting thing is the world interacts in a way that it doesn't necessarily matter whether you're there or not. So as you go to a new location, you'll draw cards. Cards will have certain keywords on them. So maybe they're prey, maybe they're predators, maybe they're flora, maybe it's a new kind of animal that's not really something that we would recognize, called a biomeld, which is kind of a leftover from the apocalypse.
Yeah,
sort of some sort of odd sort of style of creature.
Like
but
the
these
three-eyed, two-headed moose from the 100 or something like that.
yeah, but even more so.
Yeah, cool.
So one of the biomelds that we ran into is it's called a caustic mulcher, and it's like this giant spider creature that just sucks in sort of wildlife and dissolves them in acid.
Ooh.
And if there's no wildlife to suck in, it will suck you in.
Yeah.
So the world kind of just interacts. So as you're wandering along the path, there'll be prey that will come along, and you can kind of interact with them. You're not going to be going and killing and hunting them for food. You might be shooing them away so that the prey doesn't then eat the bushes that you might be collecting for food. If a predator comes in, you might want some prey around so that the predator will attack the prey, so that you can avoid the predator.
Yeah, right.
We're starting to learn the different biomes as we go through. We know as we go into a woodland, these are the kinds of animals that we're most likely to approach. This is the way to deal with when a herd of deer come in. We need to keep some of them around, but we also need to make sure that the bucks don't get into mating season and then start damaging us because we're intruding on their territory. If a wolf comes by, then we want it to chase the deer away rather than coming at us. And so there's this really interesting craft of working out the different ways that you're going to interact with cards.
Yeah.
Are you going to befriend something? Are you going to try and calm it down? Are you going to try to move it on? All the while exploring all these sort of different little locations, finding little secret treasure troves, interacting with people that are wandering around the world as well. And the game sort of remembers what you've done. So if you've talked to this person before, the next time that you meet them, you'll have a different story entry to read. They'll have a different story to tell. If you say to someone, like, we're going to help you, they remember that you've told them that you're going to help them.
Yeah.
And you meet them 3 days later and you haven't helped them. They're like,
yeah.
what gives? Like, you said you were going there.
It's like that.
I got distracted.
Yeah.
Telltale games, like the Walking Dead Telltale games.
Yeah.
So and so will remember this. And
Yeah.
Oh.
So I really like just the theme of Earthborn Rangers. It's very zen sort of feel. It is difficult. Like, you do need to think about how you're going, but it does. really gently lead you by the hand in the tutorial and the starting missions, kind of going, this is what you need to do. We're going to teach you a little bit about the world before you go out on your own. After that, it's really nebulous. It's sort of like, literally, after you've delivered some biscuits, the main quest giver that you were dealing with says, yeah, well, I hope you had fun, and I'm sure you met some interesting people, so keep doing that.
Yeah.
Oh,
And so
no money.
yeah,
Here's a lesson.
No, you'll get lessons, not money.
That's parenting the game.
Yes. Yeah. Don't kind of get experience. Sometimes you can get what's called reward cards, where you can swap a new card for one of your existing cards. Some of those are better. Usually it's just more situational, like, okay, well, maybe I don't need to be twice 2 copies of Thoughtful in my deck anymore. I'm going to swap one of those out for this new biscuit recipe that I've learned so that I can make biscuits now. So yeah, it's very sort of low stakes all the way through, but it's got just this lovely charm of sort of walking around, interacting with people, realizing that you're learning, developing a craft, figuring out how to interact with things. It's interesting. It provides this sense of anticipation and also this little bit of trepidation when you go into a new biome. So thinking like, okay, we want to go to this place because we've got a delivery or we've heard that there's an interesting thing
But you're not just
over
going
there.
run through it, are you?
But we're not going to walk through it because, that to get from there to there, we have to go through a mountain pass, and we've never been through a mountain pass before.
Yeah.
And so, are we equipped in the right kind of cards for it?
Another game just like real life.
Yeah.
You
So,
don't-
do you have chances to kind of like retcon your deck completely? Like, if you know that, no, not at all.
No. So essentially, you can do some slight modifications to your deck if you end the day well. It's up to you when you want to end the day. But there's only certain conditions that you can meet to end the day that allow you to kind of camp in a restful state, which allows you to modify your deck, but it only allows you to modify your deck based on either reward cards that you got or cards that you've already taken out of your deck. So the initial decisions that you make at the very start stick with you. They were your backstory, they were your persona, and so you can't kind of just change them and go, oh, well, turns out being a tinkerer in my backstory was terrible. I'm going to change it so I was a wanderer or something. No, you were a tinkerer and you learnt these things, and so that's how you're going. In the same way you have 4 stats. I have not come and I suspect from reading the rules, there is no way to permanently increase or change any of those stats. You might get a temporary, like, for this round, you might get one of these stats is higher, but that's it.
Gosh, that's tough.
So yeah, like, I'm really regretting you've got to choose a stat that's like your dump stat, and I'm like, oh man, I always want that stat. And we were talking, Alison and I have been playing through this. We were talking the last time we played. I'm like, oh, it's so bad that my spirit's like stat 1, because that's the stat that you use to talk to everyone, and like no one wants to talk to me because I'm terrible at talking. It's terrible.
You just walk up to someone and go, huh?
Yeah, basically.
What do you want? You want to help me get rid of some biscuits, all right?
Yeah. Like, sometimes I trick them with a gadget, like, because I'm a gadget guy.
Yeah.
What is a typical game like? How I'm just trying to visualize. What does a game look like? You sit down to play it. Do you have like one quest and then it progresses through to another? Is it a legacy game? When does it have an end?
It's a campaign game, and I have no idea how it ends because it's so open-ended about what we do. There's kind of a mission tracker on a thing that's tracking a number of days, but there's been no indication of that will be the last day when we got to that end. But I suspect maybe we will have. It might be kind of one of those games that you just sandbox until you're done, but
okay.
I could tell you maybe closer to the thing. At this stage, it really just feels like just explore the world and enjoy yourself.
It's a relaxing game. There's no combat.
There is combat. There is things that will attack you and wound you. The other way that a day can end if you take 3 or more injuries then a ranger is too injured, and so you must stop and rest for the day.
Mm-hmm.
That's a bad ending to a day. You've wasted a day, basically. A day can end if your ranger becomes exhausted, so your deck runs out. Each time you play a card, it will go into your discard. It's very difficult to get cards out of your discard. And also a number of things that you interact with will fatigue you. And sometimes you're fatigued because you have to get past things to interact with other things. It's got a whole sort of spatial layout of whether things are in reach of you, whether they're in reach of the other ranger or rangers, whether they're in the surrounds, or if they're along the way. So things that are along the way are between you and the surrounds, and often to progress to the next area, you have to get it's in the surrounds. So you've got to like interact with the surrounds, which means everything in reach of you and everything along the way is in your way and fatigues you. So like if you've got to dodge a deer, even though the deer doesn't care about you, that's going to fatigue you and you're going to lose a card.
Right.
If you have to go through that thorn bush, well, that's going to maybe do 2 fatigue.
Do you
So-
choose the card you can fatigue or get rid of?
No, it just comes off the top of your deck.
Oh,
so
right.
it's not out of your hand. It's just you've lost something from your deck. You've only got 30 cards in your deck, so you're going to be playing some. Every one that you play goes into your discard. Other ones will go into your fatigue.
Yeah.
But, okay, so I've got a thorn bush and I've got a deer in front of me. What if I got the deer to eat the thorn bush? Then, the deer's full. I'll shoo away the deer and then I can just walk through because there's no thorn bush anymore.
That's smart ranging.
Yeah. And
How do
Right.
you come to that decision? Is that some text that you can choose from, or is it like, can you Dungeons and Dragons it and just say, hey, I'm going to manufacture a story
So
here?
cards will have tests that you can achieve. You can say, like, I'm going to use focus and knowledge to realize that, if I pick this thorn bush in this way, I could get the fruit off it. Or I'm going to use spirit and agility to kind of move the deer towards the thorn bush or
Well,
something.
You're not going to use spirit to talk to it, though, are you?
Well, yeah, I'm not going to use spirit for much at all, really, because I have one spirit. So it's
Can lure it
terrible.
with Kingston Vickies, though.
Yeah.
Hey, Bush, I got some cookies.
Yeah.
Bushes love cookies.
Yeah. Oh, wait, the deer.
The deer might eat the cookies, but not the bush.
I think we found my dump stat.
Yeah.
Intelligence.
So you'll have different kinds of tests that you can use to interact. They'll use up a certain amount of energy from each of your stats. Each time you need to rest, you need to draw a new card from your deck. If you can't draw a new card, you've become exhausted and the day ends. But also, every time you rest, a new card comes in to the play area. So each ranger will add a new card, whether that's that might be a predator that's now on the scene and now you've got to deal with it. Maybe you found yet another bush in the surrounds that you've got to get rid of. So it's about efficiently clearing the cards in a way that means you can interact with the cards that you need to. Sometimes a friendly person will come along, like another ranger is just walking along in the area, or maybe there's a person from a nearby village that's just out on a stroll. You can also end your day if a friendly person takes enough damage that they would be harmed. And so that's considered a failure of the day as well. You have to end your day then because you've basically breached your ranger duty of protecting, everybody.
Thus, Earthborn Ranger. That's
Yeah, that's why you're an Earthborn Ranger. So it's really interesting. It's often these kind of games, you're often thinking like, I'm going to like hunt deer for food and, like I'll beat back those monsters and so on. This is much more, how do I interact with the environment in a way that is advantageous to me, but also respects kind of the natural boundaries, keeps everything in harmony in a way that allows me to kind of weave my path through it. And so there's that interesting learning thing. If you're just going in trying to punch stuff, it's
And
not going to work.
it also, like, every player is playing with the same sort of like guided morality system or morality compass. Like in D&D, you might have the one
Chaotic evil.
Yeah.
Chaotic evil player, and it's like, hang on, we're all a bunch of paladins. Like,
Yeah.
can you please not be like a brooding dark elf rogue
Yeah.
and murdering everything? It's
Yeah, so my character is good at exploring and creating sort of items. So on. Alison's character is really good at talking and shepherding kind of wildlife. So on. And so we're using those two kind of abilities to usually fairly good. We've ended every day well, sort of thing. So it's been interesting, but we're sort of only on the first few days. There's weather impacts that change how stuff happens, and we have had a couple of scary situations where we're like, "Oh gosh, like it's really we're not keeping everything in balance here." Interesting note too on the production: they've made everything environmentally friendly. So everything's made out of cardboard. Even the cards don't have any plastic finish on them. They don't have any cores in this center of it, so they're just made of pure cardboard. You can feel that there's a little bit of a difference in the sort of quality.
Yeah.
But it is nice that sort of for the theme of this kind of in tune with nature and so on, they've really tried hard to go like we want a really biodegradable game that's not going to leave a lasting impact. Obviously, there's some things in board game production that just it's a consumer product. So there's going to be some impact, but they have, from what I've read, had a look at some articles by climate scientists and stuff, actually reviewing how green is Earthborn Rangers production.
Oh, great! Yeah.
And they were saying they have actually gone the extra mile here and done some, really, not every choice that they made was maybe perfect, and some of them they go like, we couldn't find out the information about this ink that we were using, whether it's all biodegradable, etc. So I guess if that's really important to you, sure, do some research, but I'd recommend Earthborn Rangers for a sustainability thing as well.
It's Earthborn Rangers.
Oh, well, look at that. The four legs holding the table to Legs 11 episode have maintained their position. No tables were flipped.
Maybe 3 legs in this table.
3 legs.
We're a tripod.
Yeah.
It's a tripod table, I think.
Lovely. Yeah.
3. Although I'd be happy to kick one of those legs out.
The one that Flux is kind of
Yeah. The Flux leg, it's looking a bit wobbly.
Alright.
Oh, your Flux is gone, but the Iron Helm solo only game stays in for Ben. We've changed a new leaf. This Earthborn Rangers is really
Yeah.
Look, I wouldn't play Earthborn Rangers solo. I feel like you can, but I feel like there's something nice about harmoniously trying to work. I wouldn't play it with more than 2 either.
Yeah.
It just kind of feels like that would be redundant. It does play up to 4, but
Yeah.
I just feel like there's not much to do in someone else's turn, but it is interesting having another ranger to kind of have to bounce off.
I'm really interested in Earthborn Rangers. Out of the 3, I'd like to give it a try between now and when I retire by the cliffs
With your Iron Helm and your doorstops. Yeah.
50 doorstops.
Yeah, there's no doorstops in
No.
Earthborn Rangers. So I don't know.
0.
Yeah.
Hate it already.
Yeah.
It's definitely interesting to me. I like this this whole it's not really about combat, it's more just about it, like you've said, the interaction with the environment and the impacts you can have and how you benefit from your environment and vice versa.
Yeah.
That all sounds interesting. It doesn't sound interesting to say out loud now that I'm saying it, but I'm sure it is when you're playing it and you're getting into the theme and you're engrossing yourself in that aspect. Yeah.
It's cool to see some like logic puzzles that aren't hack and slash and you win because you have good stats. Roll the dice. Oh, nat 20, yay.
Yeah, look, there's still an element in chance and kind of push your luck in Earthborn Rangers. You're going to have to commit to tests and you'll flip over a deck of cards and will interact with those things. The way that prey and predators and flora and fauna move around and interact isn't entirely predictable. You've just got kind of a range of things that they can do. But it's learning those interactions and the probabilities of stuff that really comes into play. So
yeah, well,
exciting.
Admittedly, Flux is not the game of the week that I'd like to be playing after this. I could get into either of those. Earthborn Rangers does sound pretty good, but hey, I'm feeling a little bit of light, a little bit of solo. I wouldn't mind some Iron Helm.
Can recommend.
Yeah.
It's
One thing I'll
yeah.
say is Earthborn Rangers, you're looking at a sort of 180 Australian or something,
Ooh.
which is that's a big difference from the $6 that we picked Ironborn up.
Yeah,
So-
get on down and not work and print yourself a copy of Iron Helm.
For legal reasons, it's not work.
Yeah.
When I was at not work and I was leaving, someone said, "What do you got there?" And I said, "Oh, just some paperwork.
Yeah.
I won't bother you with it." And then they found out it was a game. They don't work there anymore.
They don't work
And I'll
there.
let you decide if I had a plan or not. They didn't. Don't worry. They
Okay.
left it in their own terms.
All right.
Is what? Oh, you can't see me winking at
Yeah,
you.
yeah. For the audio listener,
It's getting dark.
for the audio listener, officers from the Australian Tax Office have come in and
We
are
do
arresting-
random audits, but
Yeah.
specifically just you.
Yeah. Deke is leaving in handcuffs and all this for a board game.
Well, look, on that note, I think that's been episode 11.
Yes.
Thanks for getting bored with us.
Yeah.
And we look forward to getting bored with you next time.
Hey.
This has been the Board Crew. Hey, thanks for listening. You can join the conversation, have a chat with us, and maybe even tell us a game we need to review by rolling over to our socials. Just search the Board Crew on Facebook. See you next time.
I did add a sigh in post.
Yeah. Tell us about
We
the
could
time
just
you-
make a sign with our mouths.
Yeah.
Only an audio way to sigh.
Less sigh.
Yeah, put subtitles on this episode.